Okay, we're going to do a full review of Gemsu's Instant SEO Checker. We're going to walk through your score and the whole report. So to get started, you simply add your URL and your keyword and then your email and press Scan Now. And it takes about 15 seconds for it to fully scan your website. The unique thing about this SEO checker is it checks your URL or your web page for a particular keyword. I would say that 90% of the SEO checkers out there just do a general analysis. This is the better way to go because you can see how your web page ranks for a particular keyword. And if you want to optimize your site, you're always optimizing for a particular set of keywords. So that's what makes this SEO scanner unique, and there really are very few SEO checkers out there that check for a particular keyword. So when it finishes up here, we'll walk through the 58 elements in this report and kind of discuss each one. All right, so here it is. Okay, so the overview or the first page here will give you your overall score. It looks like we got 86. It also is going to show the web page that you analyzed and the keyword that you wanted to see how the page is optimized for. So like I said, we're looking at about 58 SEO elements. In this case, we got 40 good signals and 18 issues were found. So that's how we got the score of 86. If you have any questions about the report, you can always reach out to us. Our phone number and our email are up here in the top right hand corner. So let's get into it. So the first section is speed, and speed obviously is becoming increasingly important both for the user experience and for SEO and Google's algorithm. Particularly on mobile devices. So our SEO checker looks at three elements. The first thing it's going to look at is how fast the page loads. It's going to look at the size of the page and the number of file requests on the page. So those are the three simple elements that this SEO checker looks at. If you had a poor score for any of these, you would see a red check mark, but we passed on all three because we have a pretty good load time here. The next element that it's going to look at is your URL. It's going to check to see if your URL is SEO friendly, and then it's going to see if the exact keyword is in the URL. I would say that is not that important. So if you get a red check mark for the exact keyword found in the URL, I wouldn't worry too much about that unless you're checking a deep page. If you're checking a deep page and not your root domain, then you probably want to make sure that your exact keyword is somewhere in the URL. It's going to check to see if there are any underscores in your URL. Definitely the recommendation is to use hyphens and not underscores. And then it's going to check to see if the page is close enough to the top level domain. So you don't want to have multiple directories deep. You want to keep it at most 2 or 3 away from the root domain. So that's what that is checking for. The next element, one of the most important elements that it's going to check is your title tag. It's going to first to see if your keyword is found in your title tag. That's obviously extremely important. And then it's going to see if your keyword begins with your title tag. The most important keyword should be at the front of your title tag. And the last thing it checks is it under 70 characters? If it's too long, you'll get a red check mark there. Again, this is what makes this SEO checker unique. Is it's really looking at this page against the keyword that I'm looking at. Most SEO checkers will only check something like the title length. Is it long enough? That doesn't really help you out a lot with your SEO audit. You really need to understand, here's the keyword I'm trying to rank for, is the keyword in the title. So definitely an SEO checker that checks for a particular keyword is the best type of SEO analyzer to use. So the next element that it's going to check is the description tag. And again, it's going to look to see if the exact keyword that we're trying to optimize for is in the description tag, as well as if the description tag has less than 160 characters. We got green checks mark on both of those, so we're good. The next element that our SEO checker looks at is your images. It's going to check to see if there's any meta tag for images, like a Twitter card or any meta tag found. Looks like we do not have a meta tag, so we need to add that there. It's going to check to see if the images have alt tags. It's also going to check to see if the keyword is found in the alt tags. And then it's also going to check to see if the keyword is in the file name itself. And then it's going to see if there are any underscores in your file names, because again, you want to use dashes, not underscores, in both your URL and in any file name for your images. So it looks like we got a couple red check marks there. Some simple fixes for us there. The next element it's going to look at the top keywords used, so you can kind of see what keywords you use the most throughout your content. That's very helpful. And then it's going to check our heading tags. It's going to check 3 elements of our heading tags. First, it's going to look to see if our heading tags exist. Do we have an H1, an H2, and an H3? Are our exact keywords found in our header tags? In this case, we do not have our exact keywords in our headers. That's actually a pretty important SEO element and something we definitely need to fix. And then it's going to check to see if there are any duplicate heading tags. Your H1, H2, and H3 should all be different. They should be different sizes, and they should obviously have different keywords and phrases in there. So the next element it's going to look at is our copy or our text. It's going to check to see if there are 2,000 words on the page. Obviously, the more content, the better for SEO and for optimization. It's going to see if the keyword is used 2 to 4 times within your content. It's going to see if your keyword is bold, italicized, or underlined in any place, and we're missing on all 3 of those. And then it's going to check to see if the exact keyword is found in the first 100 words. So is your keyword at the top of your content. It's also going to check to see if your exact keyword is in any anchor text for any links, internal links to elsewhere. And then it's also going to check to see if a sitemap is found. So we definitely have a lot of work to do here on our copy or our content, but they're pretty simple fixes as well. The next element that it's going to check is your code. It's going to make sure that your code is W3C validated. It's going to check to see if there's any Flash, and also if there's any inline CSS. It's going to check to see if there is any, or it's going to check to see what the text to HTML ratio is. And it's also going to check to see if we have any schema in our code, as well as is there a sitemap, an XML sitemap. So those are kind of the 6 simple code elements going to check. There definitely is a lot more to check in SEO, but those are kind of 6 simple code elements to check. The next element it's going to look at is our social analysis. Is there a Facebook share button, and do we have a blog? And so it looks like in this case we have both Facebook and a link to our blog. So that's kind of a very, very simple social analysis. The next element that our checker is going to look at is the mobile analysis. It's going to look to see if we have a mobile sitemap. It's going to look to see if it's compressed, like with a gzip file. Do we have an Apple icon, and is there a viewport? Also shows you what your site looks like, or gives you a snapshot of your site in a mobile version, which is really nice. The next element that the page or that the SEO checker looks at is your page links. In this case, it says there's only 2 links from other sites, which would be a very low number of backlinks. We found 5 backlinks from unique domains. So it's going to check that. It's going to check outbound links, and it's going to check outbound follow links. It's going to check your Moz trust and then your Moz rank scores. And we have pretty low there, so it gave us red check marks for our Moz trust and our Moz rank. As well, it's going to check your Moz page authority, and we're okay there. So those are kind of the page link elements it's going to check. It's going to check your overall root domain. This is important to note that with this SEO checker, you can check a deep page as well as your home page. We're looking at the home page here, but in this case, it's going to check 5 across your root domain as well. It's going to check to see how many links you have from other sites. It's going to check to see how many of those are unique links. And again, as well as the Moz Trust and Moz Rank and Moz Authority scores for the overall domain. It's going to check several elements for the domain analysis. It's going to make sure that your key or that your domain is not too long. It's going to look to see if it's less than 15 characters. Again, it's going to look to see if the keyword is found in the domain. I don't think that that's important. It's going to check the age of the domain, when it expires. Definitely recommend that you register your domain for as long as possible. So it's pretty cheap. So I'd register it for multiple years, 5, 10 years if you can. It's going to see if it's set to a preferred domain and if there's any canonicalization as well. It's going to check to see if it has an SSL certificate or it has HTTPS, and if there's a robot.txt file, and if you have a fave icon. So those, again, are really kind of 9 very simple elements it's going to check, but some of them are pretty important. That's really it. At the very end of your report, you're going to have a task list, and the task list really takes all of the areas where you got red check marks, and it puts it into a task list, so it's easy for you to work on the elements that you missed. And that's really it. That is the whole instant SEO checker and report here. Again, great thing to run and quickly get, and then it gives you a nice little task list to work on so you can get some of those SEO elements fixed. So that's it. Thank you.